Welcome back to Neighborhood Theology. We're thrilled to have you join us this episode where we're going to discuss loving our neighbors in a polarized world. My name is Reverend Bala Khyllep, the acting director of the World Mission Initiative here at Pittsburgh Theological Seminary. We understand neighborhood theology as responding to Christ's call to love our neighbors as we encounter each other in community. Today we are delighted to be joined by Monica Ruiz, the executive director of Casa San José, an organization that connects, supports, and advocates with and for the Latino community in the Pittsburgh area. Monica has received many recognitions and awards for her work and leadership, including Pittsburgh's most influential Latinos at this year's Pennsylvania Latino Convention. So how do you practice neighborhood theology? Meaning, how do you practice Christ's call to love our neighbors in your everyday life as well as your professional life?
That's a really good question. So I think I can start off by saying that Casa San José was born out of the Sisters of St. Joseph. That's where our name comes from. And although we are not a part of the Catholic Church, our grounding comes from there. And so the work that we do is very reflective of the Catholic teachings and how we're supposed to treat one another and how we want the world to treat each other as well. When I started at Casa, I was an intern.
Okay.
And there were 3 of us there. And now, many years later, we have a staff of 35.
Yes.
And I like to say I've done all of the jobs at Casa, because I think I have.
Yeah.
And so not only have we expanded with our staff, but we've been able to expand with our services that we provide and the region that we cover.
Yes.
So we know that Latinos are moving here to this area at a high rate, but there aren't many things that are available to them because of either language access or their ability to qualify for certain programs.
Yeah.
So I'm really proud that Casa is there to be that first hand of help as people start moving in.
Yeah. Can you share a moment where loving your neighbors challenge you, your beliefs or your comfort zone? I believe there's a lot of challenges that you face through your work with Casa San José.
Yeah, I think something that really opened my eyes was that, so I'm not from here, and I've been here, I think, 18 years now. Okay. I come from a very diverse community where there's people from all over the world that live in a neighborhood. They work together, they go to school together, all these things. That was my normal. Yeah. And then I moved to the South Hills of Pittsburgh, 18 years ago, and it wasn't very friendly. Yeah. And so, to tell you that I've never experienced racism would be a lie, but I've never experienced it the way that I've experienced it here. And so that kind of makes you feel unwanted or unappreciated, or feeling pretty terrible. And so you learn how to cope with those things. And because of it being in the South Hills, because of the affordability of the housing there, many of our immigrant neighbors live there. And so this is a population that grew really fast in a neighborhood where there were old school American people that had been here for a long time. And they were like, whoa, we don't want this type of, new neighbor coming in. And so it was really evident in the beginning that, there were some divides starting to be formed. We had a pretty terrible neighbor, physical neighbor, the person that lived next door to us, who was just terrible and so mean and yelling and screaming and saying terrible things. And, it brings you down, and it started to make me feel like this neighbor is reflective of the community, of the neighborhood here, and how they feel about us. And so you keep on going, and you keep on going. And then one day, COVID hit. When COVID came, the services that we provide primarily are for the Latino community. But we started to notice during that time is that a lot of our American neighbors needed our help. They needed vaccines. They needed food. They needed rental assistance. And so even though that nasty neighbor that was next to us, and it made me sort of like think negatively of like the neighbors that we had in Beachview. It made me realize that they have the same needs that we do. And if we're here and we're fortunate enough to be giving it to our immigrant neighbors, we want to help our American neighbors too.
Yeah.
And so,
what are spiritual practices or scriptural practices that help you ground?
I always tend to go back to Jesus was an immigrant.
Yes.
Right? Jesus was an immigrant. So how can we now turn our backs on people like they did to Jesus? You know, we can't do that. And sometimes making that human connection with someone is what can take us to the next level. There are some people that don't want to talk to me. And, you know, and no matter how hard I try, I'm not going to change their mind or change their souls.
Yes.
But I think that as long as people are willing to have some level of conversation, we might not see eye to eye all of the time, but I think if we continue to live in our spiritual like awareness and bring that out into the world, we're all, I don't know of a religion that says you should be terrible to your neighbor, right? There isn't one. It's just our own interpretation of what that looks like. And so that really, to me, is something that I've been using for many years now, of this loving your neighbor. I don't want you to tolerate your neighbor. I want you to love your neighbor, your immigrant neighbor, just like we love Jesus.
Yeah, you know, looking at how Scripture, our Bible itself, we worship a God who are, you know, being with people who are immigrants, all the way from Abraham, how he is an immigrant, and Ruth, how she's an immigrant. So there's a lot of those stories that oftentimes we forget. And of course, Jesus himself is an immigrant, right? So it's important to go back to those basics of our faith, that we are worshiping a God who sees and be and travel and be alongside with the immigrants of our faith. So have you seen any creative or unexpected form of bridge building that really worked through your work with Casa San José?
Yeah, so I think most recently I would say the desire of our ally American neighbors to come forward and do the work that needs to be done in order to change things that are negatively affecting our communities has been overwhelming. Yeah. We've had, I mean, Casa wouldn't exist without our American neighbors, our American volunteers. We just wouldn't exist. We have over 100 active volunteers at Casa every month. So to see the level of people that are stepping up to say what's happening is not right and what can we do to help has been really great. I never thought it would be to the level that we're seeing today. But it's beautiful. It's sad that we're, you know, going through this really terrible time, but I think that's the silver lining that I can see.
And I believe, you know, those individuals that volunteer their time are from churches, you said?
The majority, yes. The
Okay.
majority of them, different denominations. But, you know, we have churches now that have offered to do food collections for us, have offered to help us with, we have a home where we have people staying that can't afford their rent because of someone being deported, and they're going to help feed those people. And we have congregations willing to collect toys and coats, and these things have happened in the past, but not at this scale, which is great because we do need it at a much higher scale right now. Yeah.
That's good.
The other thing that we do a lot, every Friday there's a prayer vigil outside of the ICE office, and different congregations have taken over months at a time to lead those prayers. There's a lot of people out there, which is really great.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, we'll look in terms of like some practical ways that we're going to talk a little bit later for churches or for people how to engage in that. But in terms of you know, especially as I mentioned, we live in a polarized world, right? so much division in all levels, and as we witness itself in our government right now, right? So how do we balance standing up for what we believe in while still loving those who disagree? Because sometimes it's easy for me to like you and hang out with you because I agree with what you believe, but I don't want to hang out with others who doesn't have the same belief or that I disagree. How do we still stand up for what we believe but also love those who we disagree?
It's a difficult balance. It is a difficult balance because I think that if we would disagree on things maybe 5 or 6 years ago, there are many things that we could still agree on and have civilized conversations.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I think certain issues have been so politicized that it's very difficult right now to have conversations about those things unless one of the two parties is open, or both parties have to be open to listening and respecting the other's opinions. Because we're not talking about, to me it's more important to build affordable housing, and to somebody else it's more important to bring developers so that they can make money. That's kind of, it's different, but they're not going to be calling each other names over it, right? But when you think about other issues that are currently what are being used to dehumanize whole populations of people, that's different, right? If you tell me I believe in everybody pulling themselves up by their bootstraps and getting ahead in life, great, I believe the same thing. But how can we have that same conversation when you're asking someone to pull themselves up by their bootstraps when they don't even have shoes on? Right? So there's no need for yelling or talking to people in a negative fashion or being disrespectful towards one another. But in many times, like, the level is not the same. If people say I voted a certain way because of the economy, well, I voted a certain way to protect the people in my home that I love. We're not the same. So where can we come together where we are more aligned and have the conversations there? Because you're going to have uncomfortable conversations. It's just going to happen. But how are you going to handle those conversations? That's the key.
So from what I can hear you saying that, yes, we can have disagreement as long as we don't dehumanize one another, and what is needed is the willingness to listen, the willingness to be humble enough to realize that what I believe can be different from you, and what you believe also, can in some way impact one another. So how to do it in such a way that build up rather than tear down the neighborhood or tear down the community and the church. I mean, that's oftentimes church can have conflict because of what's going on in our world and our country. So, So what are some practical ways that individual or churches can show love to their neighbors across the divides that we witness in our country?
Sure. So allowing us to come and speak at your church, it would be great, because a lot of people don't know exactly what's going on, and we can give a presentation about what we're seeing, and then either help them come up with ways to help us, or let them come up with ways on their own that might benefit us. I was speaking at a library maybe like 2 months ago, and there was a gentleman there, and he said, I live here in Mount Lebanon, and I want my neighbors to feel comfortable here, and I live next to a park. And there used to be a baseball game every Sunday at this park, every Sunday, and lots of Latinos came to play, and now I'm seeing less and less and less Latinos. How do we get them back? So we met with him, we met with the guys that were playing baseball, and yesterday we had a community baseball game, right? Where we had American neighbors and Latinos playing baseball against one another.
Yeah.
And we had food, and we had breakfast, and we had music, and it was beautiful. And then we talked a little bit about, we want them to feel welcome there. We want, if they need help, if anything ever were to happen, please come to us. Even something that small was so significant.
Yeah.
It was so important to have that there, because those baseball players didn't know that that somebody wanted them to feel so welcome there.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's little things like that. There's obviously volunteering, your time, your talents. We have a lot of youth programs. You have a cool job that you want to come and talk to our kids about, right? We have a gentleman that does glass blowing, and the kids go there and learn about glass blowing.
Yes.
There's a million things you can do. But I think one of the most important things that we can do as individuals as well is having some of those courageous conversations with people who don't see eye to eye with us.
So in terms of, for example, Friday prayer vigil in front of IE's office, right? And sometimes some people want to participate, but at the same time, they worry about, they scare of whether they worry that, as we've seen in the country, for their safety, but also for for themselves, but also for family members. Is there a way that people, what your suggestion in terms of people able to engage in those conversations, engage in those activities in such a way that it's, that prepare them to be, do it in such a way? Of course, the prayer vigil is a non-violence, right? We know that. But at the same time, still there's some fear. How to come out of that fear, especially to engage in those?
Yeah, I think if you would have told me 3 years ago that it was dangerous to participate in a prayer vigil, I would have said, no, that's not right. But today's a different conversation. It could be dangerous to participate in a prayer vigil.
Yeah.
So what I ask people to do is just do what they feel comfortable doing, whether it's coming to a training with us, whether it's inviting us to your church, whether it's inviting us to your to your couch, and we can do it in your own neighborhood. Whatever it is, whatever you feel comfortable doing, that's what we're here to help. But I think one of the most important things is you yourself learning what really is true, because knowledge is power.
Yeah.
And you will share that with someone, and eventually you'll get to someone.
Yeah, I think we are so grateful for your time with us. Thank you so much for your work. Grateful for your work that you do with Casa San José, and of course grateful for Casa San José for all have done for the people in this in Pittsburgh area and also in this region, and grateful for the work that you do, and also for your time with us to share your wisdom and knowledge, and how that we also able to engage and able to participate in what you're doing, and we are excited for that. So thank you so much for taking your time and talking with me here, and also for sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.